Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our 16th episode of The Insightful Mind. I am your host, Sochiata, and today we are diving into a topic that literally shapes the way we see the world from the moment we can read. We are talking about the influence of textbook content on our historical perspectives.
It is a pleasure to be here, Sochiata. Thank you for inviting me to discuss something so fundamental to our collective identity.
Intrigued? Mr. Saroon, you have spent decades as both a historian and an educator. When you look at a history textbook today, do you see a collection of objective facts, or do you see something more curated?
That is the golden question. To be honest, there is no such thing as a perfectly neutral textbook. Every page, every choice of adjective, every photo included or excluded, it all tells a story. We often think of history as a fixed record of the past, but in reality, it is a living narrative that is often shaped by the hands of the present.
That sounds almost like you are saying history is a form of storytelling rather than science.
In many ways, it is. Think about it. A textbook is a tool used by a nation to tell its children who they are and where they came from. It builds a sense of belonging, but the danger lies in what we choose to leave out. The silences in a history book are often louder than the words themselves.
Nodding slowly. I remember my own history books from primary school. Everything felt so black and white. There were heroes and there were villains. There was very little room for the gray areas of human conflict.
Exactly. We like to create heroes because they inspire national pride. But when we oversimplify, we strip away the humanity of historical figures. We make them into statues instead of people who made difficult, sometimes flawed decisions.
Earnestly, how does this actually affect a student's mindset as they grow up? If they are raised on a specific version of history, does it change how they interact with people from other cultures? Seriously, immensely. If a textbook paints a neighboring country as a perpetual enemy, that student grows up with a subconscious bias. They see the other through a lens of suspicion. Conversely, if a textbook ignores a group's struggles, it can lead to a lack of empathy or even the erasure of that group's contributions to society. Thoughtfully. It's like a filter on a camera. You only see what the lens is pointed at. I wonder, have you seen any positive changes in how textbooks are written lately? Are we getting better at showing multiple perspectives? I do see progress. Some modern curricula are moving toward multi-perspectivity. Instead of saying, this happened, they say, this happened, and here is how it was experienced by the soldiers, the civilians, and the people on the other side of the border. It encourages critical thinking rather than rote memorization. Excitedly. That sounds so much more engaging. It turns history into a mystery to be solved rather than a list of dates to be memorized for an exam. Precisely. And that is the goal of a true historian. We want students to ask, why was this written this way? And whose voice is missing from this chapter? When a student starts asking those questions, they are no longer just a passive consumer of information. They are becoming a critical thinker. Reflectively, I think about the power dynamic there. The people who write these books, the ministries of education, the publishers, they hold so much power over the future of a society's psyche. Solemnly. They do. It is a heavy responsibility. History is often written by the victors, as the old saying goes. But in a globalized world, we can no longer afford to live in silos of biased information. We need to understand the shared human experience, the tragedies and the triumphs alike. Curiously, what advice would you give to parents or even students who are reading their textbooks right now? Should they be skeptical? Warmly. I wouldn't say cynical, but definitely curious. I would tell them, read the textbook, but don't let it be the end of your journey. Look for memoirs, look for oral histories from elders, and look for perspectives from other countries on the same event. Compare them. The truth usually lies somewhere in the middle of those different stories. Inspired. That is such a powerful way to look at it. It turns education into a lifelong quest rather than a finished product you receive in a classroom. Contentedly. That is the dream, Sochiata. If we can teach children how to think rather than what to think about our past, we might just build a more understanding future. Cheerfully. What a perfect note to end on. Mr. Saroon, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. Gratefully. It was my pleasure. Keep asking the hard questions. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to episode 16. Next time you open a book, take a moment to look between the lines. Until next time, stay curious.